Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of TFT Hyperroll with Artark. Today we're going to cover a build that in some ways I consider kind of generic, but at the same time it's one you really should see played out because it 100% does work under the right circumstances. I just feel it's really competitive. Before we get totally into it, like, comment, subscribe, do things that help the algorithm, and I'll just cut it there and let's get into this. Now, this build really had no clue what it wanted to be until I saw Cull the Meek. This is an augment that I find perfect for builds like Recon Brawlers and also for this one, which is Laser. And it's because it requires things that are going to attack fast, do a lot of damage, and really reduce the opposing team down. Now, I got really lucky picking up an early 2-star Renekton, was able to get an Ashe in, then I hope to find additional lasers, but that's not a guarantee. While usually early lasers are easy to find, that wasn't the case here, so I grabbed Kayle. I just want to make the strongest team possible, and I want a lot of attack as quickly as I can. With Cull the Meek, speed and power are paramount, and then you should be able to figure out what item it will be. The necessary Rageblade, which I'm going to go ahead and put on Ashe, because I'm still thinking Laser at this point, although I could switch over into Duelist if that's what presents itself. And I've texted Gary, but Ava and he are not around right now, so I'm kind of on my own with this one and not getting exactly what I want. I should have a 2-star Ashe right now and not be relying on a Kayle as my third. It's time to get the lasers. And as I've mentioned before, when things aren't working out, you can usually go to threats to kind of fill in. And so I pulled a Cho in to do this, and you will see here why with Cull the Meek, speed and power is so important. As Silas goes down under half health, Ashe is doing extra damage and able to finish off the team. Now, despite the fact I'm headed into 4-2 without completing the laser comp yet, I have a gold Renekton. Now, I just have to pick up the Senna below, and then I'll be able to at least get laser going if I happen to notice. I'm still at the point where I'm not necessarily paying as much attention to the champions as I should. And although I haven't gotten to laser yet, having the gold Renekton is certainly making up for it. You can see he is able to pretty easily tear through people, especially with Ashe just hitting those shots from the back line and Kayle doing, well, a little bit of damage along the way. For our next augment, we get offered the Sunfire board. The reason I like this for this is, again, the goal with Cull the Meek is to knock them down as quickly as possible, and this is going to put immediate burn on them and then weaken them. I found Yasuo, so he counts as both Laser and Duelist, and I want to enhance those traits because I want to be attacking fast and with a lot of power. Sorry, Kayle, you're just not that strong unless you get the right augment, so I would much rather have a Vayne instead of Kayle. My goal in this build is to get to 6 Laser Corps and 4 Duelists. That will give me enough speed and enough power and enough extra damage with the lasers to really be able to lay people out. For our next item, we get the choice of either Negatron Cloak, Tear the Goddess, or BF Sword. I decided to go with the Negatron Cloak because that can work into a couple of different things, whether it's a Runan's Hurricane to go on Ashe so she's hitting multiple targets, or on Vayne, or it could also become a Bloodthirster later on if I need a little additional healing. Right now, my goal, again, 6 Laser Corps, 4 Duelists, and I just want to make the most powerful ones that I can. I'm 1 away from a gold Ashe, so I'm hoping ultimately that her and Renekton are going to be my carries. Now, the fact that we have a gold Renekton is really helping the cause because that is allowing everything to hold up. I've also put Nyla in front, although she won't be effective until she gets up to 2 stars, but she will help keep everyone healed. But the key again is the speed of the attacks, and the fact that we have Cull the Meek is allowing us to keep winning. For this next fight, I switched over to put a Blitzcrank in, not because he's a better unit than Nyla, but because it'll trigger the Brawler buff, which will give everyone a little more health, which will help the entire team stay on this win streak. I decided at this point to go ahead and just put the Statikk Shiv on Ashe so she's doing additional damage throughout the entire team. This is our final individual item, so I'm going to go ahead and grab the Giant's Belt, and then when I am offered a golden egg, when I'm on this kind of win streak, I'm going to take it because there is a really good chance I'm going to be able to open it pretty soon. Also got Sejuani, that will give us our 6 Laser Corps, so we are in really good shape with the Bruisers, the Laser Corps, and the Duelists. Since Renekton is staying up a long time, we're going to go ahead and add the Redemption so he can heal the people around him. This will help, again, keep the team up longer, and the longer the team stays up, the easier it will be for them to take everything down. And it's teams like this that Call the Meek is almost made for. When the Super Mech comes out, once that gets down below 50% health, we're going to be doing a ton of damage to it from all sides. So even though Jax is a really good champion at doing a lot of damage, we're able to get through him fairly quickly and take the team down. And sometimes TFT is just a game of millimeters. Sejuani's ult just misses Zoe, which allows her to continue a reign of destruction on our team. Zoe can put in a ton of damage, and while you don't need to do the Infinity Edge Jeweled Gauntlet combo anymore, as you can see, it still does work. For the next item, I decide to focus on Vayne because Vayne is serving a dual role here, as well as she is both recon and duelist, so she will jump out of the way if someone gets close to her when she's about to cast. And also we did manage to gold 3-star the Ashe, but the Giant Slayer along with the Edge of Night will give Vayne a lot more power. We also don't know what we're going to get out of that golden egg when it finally hatches, and we've pretty much hit the point that we're guaranteed to get it to hatch even if we lose the next 2. I'm picking up Aphelios because we're going to be left with 1 slot and might as well enhance Senna's Sure Shot ability, which is what Aphelios will do. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, the key to when you use Call the Meek is speed, getting through quickly, and we did this one in under 20 seconds. And it is time for our egg to hatch, so let's see all the goodies we get. We get some magnetic removers, which we don't actually need right now, but we do get an additional tank item for Renekton, and then some items that we can put on Zed, who is an excellent carry in some ways. His biggest problem is that he ends up in melee range and sometimes goes down just a little too quickly. Facing off against the threat team that is set up really well. Bel'Veth has excellent items for what she's doing, but it's just not enough to overcome the amount of damage we're able to put out. And with that win, we are into the top 4. So as we go through this next thing, let me explain what I decided to do. I got rid of Aphelios and picked up Fiddle, and that was because of that threat team. And I knew if I could get a 2-star Fiddle and potentially hold other threats on my bench, I was going to be in good shape. I also pulled the Statikk Shiv off of Ashe with thoughts of getting it potentially onto Urgot if I was able to get to a 2-star Urgot and then hold the Fiddle on my bench, or if I can get a Morellonomicon, that will eventually go on Fiddle. For right now, I'm stuck with the Statikk Shiv. I just go ahead, put it on Fiddle, which is less than optimal, but I still have a magnetic remover for when I need it. I just need to get through this fight and then open up that final anvil, which I wasn't paying attention to at this point, and then see what I can do. But my goal was to control the threat team because I saw how they were built and knew that they could take me out if they got all their threat champions together. I finally decide to open the anvil, and that's got the Morellonomicon in it, which is just such an amazing Fiddle item. That's what's going to stay in, and I can go ahead and put the Statikk Shiv onto someone like Zed so that more damage can be done. Zed is a duelist, so he'll be attacking often, and that way we pretty much get everything out of this build that we wanted. And here you see why I switched over to the threat, because it was the threat team that we were against. And if I had given them the ability to get the 2-star Fiddle, they might have been able to completely destroy me. But it wasn't that easy this way because we had one of their key champions, which allowed us to get in and take the win. Hope you enjoyed this game. I don't recommend lasers unless you get a really clear sign. And as always, hope you have an absolutely awesome day.